This episode of The Town is brought to you by The Madison, the new original series on Paramount Plus. Academy Award nominee Taylor Sheridan's most intimate story yet, unlike anything he's ever done before. The Madison follows a family raised in a world of digital distraction, forced by tragedy to truly see one another and come together. Authentic, multi-layered, and did I mention starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Kurt Russell? Don't miss The Madison. New series streaming March 14th, only on Paramount Plus. It is Monday, March 9th. Over the past few years, one of the smartest voices on the subject of AI in Hollywood has been Ben Affleck. He's argued for using AI as a tool for both efficiency and creativity. He's downplayed concerns that AI will take over the role of the creative person, particularly when it comes to filmmaking. He was good on Joe Rogan discussing that issue, and he's done a lot on his press tours. Turns out there's a reason why Ben Affleck knows so much about AI. We learned last week that he's quietly founded an AI startup. It's called InterPositive, and boom, he's now sold it to Netflix. People in town may have seen that headline and become concerned. But first, this is not a text prompt to video AI model. It's basically a filmmaking tool where a director can upload dailies and other pieces of his or her own movie, and the model can help fill in holes or streamline scenes, help with visual effects, sound mixing, all of it. But it's not a stretch to believe that Netflix is doing this in part because it wants AI to help deliver more content for less cost. And if you're afraid of people in the creative community getting spooked about AI, there's probably no better strategy than getting a filmmaker like Ben Affleck on your side. To that end, Netflix put out a little propaganda video with Affleck explaining this model and how it can take out stunt wires, fix sunset lighting, etc. It's going to make things better, not just cheaper, they argue. Do we believe that? And with all the AI technology startups out there, why did Netflix acquire the one co-founded by Ben Affleck? At the same time, Netflix closed a big deal with Affleck's artist equity for exclusive rights to movies. That's part of that deal. So we've got Lucas Shaw in here to discuss it all. We'll also get into the Live Nation antitrust settlement with the government, but mostly today it's Ben Affleck, Netflix, and the next steps in AI. From The Ringer and Puck, I'm Matt Belloni, and this is The Town. Okay, we are here with Lucas Shaw from Bloomberg. Welcome back. Lucas, how was your weekend at the Indian Wells tennis tournament?
It was great. It was the event of the season. You were missed. Where were you? It felt like a music festival, as a couple people told me.
I know. Did you spot any Ellisons there? Larry Ellison famously owns the tournament.
I did not spot David. I did not spot Larry. I actually didn't. The only famous person I saw was the basketball player Jimmy Butler, who's a huge tennis fan and is on crutches because he's rehabbing. But he was there to see Carlos Alcaraz.
No, I'm sure they have some VIP area that you can't see. No Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise was in town. He was spotted on his motorcycle.
I'm sure they do, but that's why I was so surprised to see Jimmy just like walking down Main Street.
We are not talking about the Ellisons or Indian Wells today. We are talking about AI because this announcement last week that Ben Affleck's AI company that nobody knew was a thing, is a thing and has been purchased by Netflix.
It made a lot of his public comments on AI in which he looked quite intelligent or at least more thoughtful than the average filmmaker. It made a lot more sense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, it was kind of funny, though, because he was also shitting on Netflix and how their movies need to tell you the plot 5 times and they need to have, action in the first 10 minutes. And lo and behold, he does a big deal where Artist Equity is now producing movies exclusively for Netflix, not just the ones he's in. They got them to take the ones that he is not in. And this AI company, I think, was not just thrown in. It was part of the deal where they paid a certain undisclosed amount and got this company. So let's go through what this is and what this is not, because I think on the surface, this is a pretty benign deal, but it may signal some things that are less benign. So give me your take on this deal.
Do you get the sense that people are upset about this?
No, not really, because It's Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I guess if you were to structure a deal that you would want a Hollywood studio to do, especially one like Netflix that sort of comes from Silicon Valley and some people in Hollywood do not trust, this is what you would structure. You would say, okay, go and do a deal with a top tier filmmaker who has developed tools that are trained primarily on what they're already making. And so you're not violating copyrights. It is totally kind of within the system. And oh, by the way, it is because it is made by an artist, it is for your fellow artist. So that's why we're going to have different takes on this. You're going to say,
well, don't tell me what I'm going to say.
Okay,
I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
You're going to say what you're going to say. I'm going to say, my only question about this is, does it matter? Right? I assume that in the span of the last 3 to 4 years that Ben Affleck has not come up with God's gift to AI filmmaking tools. I could be wrong.
No, but what I think happened is they looked at this tool, Netflix, and they said, okay, this is a few years ahead of what we are doing here. We will eventually get there, but Ben's been doing this for 3 or 4 years now, and we can buy this and just get a 3 or 4 year head start. And we're already in business with this guy. And this is the key thing here. It's Ben Affleck. They want AI to be incorporated into all of their filmmaking. And this is, kind of a Trojan horse where if they're in business with Ben Affleck on AI, no one is going to question what Netflix is doing in the AI world. And that's the real value here. It's a big press release. They put out this propaganda video with Ben Affleck and Bella Bajaria and their chief product officer talking about how great this tool is. And every filmmaker is looking to say, okay, I can get on board with this. So this tool itself is pretty innocuous. They can get rid of wires. They can, if they miss coverage of a certain reaction shot, they can use the dailies to recreate that reaction shot. All stuff that filmmakers, I think, would agree is just an extension of visual effects and using AI to superpower this stuff. A great tool. But it's what it's signaling about what's coming that I think is more interesting.
Okay, what do you think it's signaling?
Well, it's signaling that Netflix is going all in on AI, I think.
But how do you make the leap from they're doing a deal for a relatively small company with a specific use case to that means that they're going all in on AI?
It is the first sign of what Netflix is, the aspirations in AI. I think this is all my speculation. They are not saying this. If you look at the financials, they have to bring down the cost of content. If they want to compete with YouTube for engagement, they got to make more and more and more, and they want to bring down the cost. So AI is certainly going to be a part of it. It's not just Netflix also. It's all of these studios. They want to figure out how to bring down the cost of content through AI. And if you can get a huge talent like Ben Affleck in your corner, you have a little bit of runway there to experiment, I think.
I want to talk about that YouTube point for a second. Yes, they are all trying to compete with YouTube, but I don't think that any of these Hollywood companies is trying to compete with YouTube on volume because they just can't do that. That's not a winning game.
No, but they want to get more. I mean, why do you think Netflix is doing podcasts?
Right. But again, that's not a competing on volume. That's a different category that can boost engagement.
That produces a lot of volume of hours for not a lot of money.
Yeah. And very few of those podcasts will generate significant viewership. They're doing,
Oh, how dare you? Craig's podcast is
they'd like to find
one.
the one or two that can be hits and sort of touchstones for them.
Sure, but back to AI. So you don't think that this is a volume play ultimately with AI?
I think that they would like to find ways to bring down costs and they would like to find ways to make the product better. But I don't think that what they're going to be trying to do, and I could obviously be wrong, is suddenly be like, now we're going to be pumping out a new series every day.
No, but it's more efficiency.
Sure.
They're always looking for efficiencies, and the cost of content keeps going up.
Yes, because their advantage on YouTube right now is actually profitability. They're more profitable than YouTube based on, we don't have the YouTube numbers, but based on outside estimates, they're more profitable. Yeah, look, you said it. Every studio, Amazon has been very public over the last couple of months about what they're trying to do in AI. Disney obviously has a deal with OpenAI, although that has been less around sort of the production of their film and television properties. Lionsgate has that deal with Runway. Every Hollywood studio is trying to figure out a strategy, and they want to do so without terrifying and antagonizing the creative people with which they work, which is why aligning with a major filmmaker like Ben Affleck is probably more appealing to Netflix, which of all the companies other than Amazon is probably going to be met with the most fear and skepticism on this topic.
And we know Amazon has a whole division run by Albert Chang, whose job is to figure out how to incorporate AI into the production process.
Yeah. Mandate from CEO Andy Jassy on down. There was already coverage of how it was used in the show House of David, which is kind of one of the biblical epics that they have. And then I know that they're working on it with animation and kind of a bunch of other areas.
Everybody is. This is not news, but I just think that the value of a Ben Affleck AI company to Netflix goes beyond this particular tool that he is bringing to them.
Yes, it gives them some license to fuck around over the next couple of months.
Yeah, it's like remember how everyone freaked out when Lionsgate did that deal with Runway to essentially hand over their library to this AI company to create tools for them that they can use in the process. I've heard that deal has not been bearing much fruit, or not as much fruit as they wanted to. But imagine if Runway was started by James Cameron or someone like that. Like, there would have been a lot more goodwill towards Lionsgate's efforts there.
Well, but what you just said is why I guess I am, short term at least, skeptical of kind of how big a deal some of this stuff will be, because it just feels like we're at least right now still in the phase that AI, and I don't know that this is going to change, but the utility of it will. AI will create a bunch of tools that are useful for filmmakers, but we don't yet have a lot of evidence that it's like massive job replacement, which is obviously the fear.
And Affleck has had some smart comments on that. He thinks that fear and that messaging is coming from the AI companies themselves in order to scare everyone and to justify the cost of their investments in this technology. He said that on Joe Rogan, I believe, or in one of his interviews.
And if you're the already kind of a leader or a really powerful company like OpenAI or Anthropic, if you scare people enough that they feel like you have to create guardrails, but you've already gotten big enough to be powerful, you can sort of create the guardrails that enshrine your power.
Yeah, it's like Elon trying to get rid of the EV tax credit because Tesla's already big enough.
Right.
And it would just prevent others from getting as big as him.
Or in the Hollywood example, if like Netflix and Disney banded together to sort of set the rules, to basically establish the kind of rules with guilds, rules with production, all of that, you just, you set it up in a way so that it perpetuates their dominance.
What I like about Affleck is he's very blunt about what AI can do and not do in the writing capacity, because I agree with him. I don't think that AI is going to be able to write quality scripts because it always reduces to the mean.
Have you written a newsletter in the style of Matt Belloni using Claude or ChatGPT?
I tried it once in ChatGPT. It was god-awful.
Did you feed in all of your reporting?
I did not put in my reporting.
That would help.
But I asked it to create a newsletter on a topic that had widespread reporting.
Yeah.
And it just spat out garbage. It was just generic and nonsense.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not, I mean, and I imagine the similar results would come out for you as well. Have you done it?
I don't think I've.
It's okay. You're not going to get fired.
No. I'm trying to remember. I've obviously fooled around with them quite a bit, but I don't. I think I have tried to see if it could mimic my writing style, but I don't know that I had it write a newsletter. I don't remember.
Okay, so we are in agreement that the Ben Affleck thing, sort of a nothing burger, not a nothing burger. Good for him.
A strategically useful deal for both of them, where Ben Affleck looks like a very forward-thinking filmmaker with this new technology. Netflix gets to align itself with a top-tier filmmaker and seems less threatening in terms of how it's applying AI. And look, it could be a useful tool for a bunch of people, right?
Does this instill your trust at all in any of these major companies in Hollywood that they will be using AI ethically going forward?
I think they will do whatever they need to do to comply with guild rules.
I'm not worried. I think this is, I'm not really worried about the studios. I continue to believe that this is the wrong place to worry about artificial intelligence. You got to worry.
You think it's going to come from outside the system?
The concern is, how do OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and Facebook use the technology, right? It's how do these big tech companies that have proven that they don't really give a shit about copyright, or they do, but only up to a point, and are going to prioritize creating great tools and technology that users like, how are they going to kind of roll out products and how will they be adopted? And what will that mean for the assets that these companies own? This is a topic. It's why I've always been confused on the guild negotiations. I think that for the most part, the guilds and the studios are on the same side. There are obviously areas where they are going to disagree, and I understand why some of the guilds are worried about ways in which the studios could reduce some employment. But I think net, they're on the same side in that they are trying to protect copyright. They're trying to protect the work and jobs. And yes, the studios might try to save a little money, but for the most part, their incentives are more aligned than not when it comes to their relationship with these big tech companies.
But you're more concerned about the whack-a-mole of Sora and Seed Dance and all
we've
these
seen
other
it already, right?
tools.
Like, what is?
I know they just and how many times can they send cease and desist letters and get an apology after the fact?
It's always going to be ask for forgiveness. They're going to create the product, and especially if we're talking about Chinese companies, they're not going to give a shit about American movie copyrights.
I know, and then all of a sudden there's going to be Chinese videos of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise starring in separate movies that the U.S. can't really do anything about, and that people can pirate on the internet.
And they only brought it to heel with YouTube initially because they bothered YouTube enough that YouTube decided it was more in their interest to sort of build a tool to police the platform that was imperfect but good enough. And guess what? It worked out pretty well for YouTube.
Do you think it's more likely that the first kind of mostly AI movie comes from a traditional studio, and I'm including people like Netflix and Amazon in that, or is it going to be OpenAI Studios presents the first
OpenAI
AI
has
film?
A movie at Cannes.
Yeah, well, no, it's not at Cannes yet. They say they are trying to get this animated movie into Cannes. I would be shocked if Cannes let an OpenAI movie into the actual festival. My guess is they will bring it there and show it outside of the official festival, and then everyone will write about it, and it'll be a big controversy.
Yeah. But yes, there's no way it comes from a major studio first. It's going to be either, I mean, there already are, it'll be an independent using existing tools, or it will be bankrolled by one of these big companies to say, look at what our tech can do.
Yeah, Pixar, this journal piece this weekend, Pixar said they haven't even incorporated any AI tools into their workflow, and they're resisting it, and they are now doing more commercial movies in order to justify their costs because they don't want to do that stuff. On to the Live Nation settlement, because I know you've written about this. I think it's a big deal. I think most people don't really understand what was at stake here. Live Nation has tentatively agreed to settle the federal case, $200 million, and some promises by Live Nation that they will end exclusive booking practices. And what else? Am I missing anything?
There's some disagreement at the moment over whether they're going to sell certain venues or exactly some of the details about it. They haven't announced yet. Like we broke the news Sunday night. The Politico followed up Monday morning with some more details.
I think they've announced it by now.
They have announced it, but I don't know that they have announced all of the details.
So this is nothing for them. This is a huge win for Live Nation. $200 million. That's like Michael Rapinoe's tip for the valet when he goes to shows. That is nothing, right?
Yeah. $200 million to a company that makes billions of dollars in revenue a year. The money is not the issue. I mean, it sucks, but the money is not the issue.
Yeah. The issue is they were facing a potential breakup.
Well, the Department of Justice was trying to get Live Nation, which owns Ticketmaster, to divest Ticketmaster, and that is not going to happen. They will create, they will open up ticketing a little bit, by which, the way it works is venues tend to have an exclusive relationship with a particular ticket seller, which in a lot of cases for the big venues is Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster's competitors would SeatGeek, Access would like to be able to either have it be completely open, where the same venue, your local arena, you can buy tickets from 2 or 3 different places, or at least have allotments where Ticketmaster gets some and they get some. And so I think there's going to be a little bit more of that. But the huge change to the way ticketing works that I think some people are hoping for is not going to happen.
No change to the ticket prices. No change to
they're not going to litigate pricing in a settlement like this.
No. But I'm saying if the whole point of this was to address the skyrocketing price of concert tickets, and that's not happening. Although the states seem to not be on board with this. At least New York has already put out a press release saying they are not on board with this. So could the case continue even if there's a federal settlement?
It probably will, because look, the majority of the state attorneys general in the country joined the suit. And
it's a bipartisan issue. Everybody hates Ticketmaster.
Right. Everybody hates Ticketmaster, which is also sort of Ticketmaster's job. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but
we have talked about this.
It's not like Ticketmaster is operating in a vacuum. You have the artists who say, this is how much I want my tickets to cost.
Yeah.
You have the venues who say, this is what I want. And they are taking all the flack for that.
Bruce Springsteen is charging $3,000 for his No Kings tour.
Yes. You know who's not saying you have to charge $3,000? Michael Rapino, the CEO of Live Nation. He's not mad about it, but he's not if he's not going to be the one to say, hey, Bruce, you really got to charge only $1,000. Unless he's going to say it's not going to sell, you need to bring it down.
Yeah, but it's charging $3,000 because that's what the market is for those premium tickets for Bruce Springsteen. I know. So why did this happen? Is this because they played audio of Rapino threatening venues in the opening argument? Is this happening because Trump, for some reason, wants it to happen? This is why Gail Slater stepped down in the Antitrust division. Like, give us the insight on why this is happening.
Well, look, Live Nation has been trying to settle this for a while. They made a proposal last spring, I believe, and had been trying to settle with the DOJ for a bunch of last year. I think it was in their interest to not have it go to court and have embarrassing things like the audio of Michael Rapino threatening the Barclays Center played. The longer that would go on, the more you'd have these embarrassing things that probably wouldn't, change the case materially, in the sense that once the judge made a ruling a few weeks ago, it was clear that there wasn't going to be a full-on breakup. And so there were going to be remedies, there were going to be changes to how the business operates. And so it was like, do you want that to happen after the case, or do you want that to happen during the case? Live Nation obviously wanted to get it done sooner rather than later. And I don't think the Trump White House, even though I believe the initial investigation might have even started under them many, many moons ago.
The first Trump
administration.
They because the Biden administration filed the case.
Correct. The case was filed,
and then the Trump people were litigating it.
Look, it's the same reason why I didn't think that the Netflix deal was going to get blocked. I certainly don't think the Paramount deal is going to get blocked. I don't think that the Trump administration has a lot of interest in blocking deals or causing huge problems for businesses, least of all ones that are like politically not opposed to them in some material way.
But honestly, this is such a bipartisan issue. You'd think the populist Trump people would be like, we got to stick it to the ticket people. That's what everybody cares about.
It could be a winning political issue for them. It just doesn't seem like one that he was itching to fight. I'm sure the Department of Justice will say that Trump was not personally involved in this, other than spending time with Kid Rock to talk about the problems in ticketing, you used the phrase Trojan horse earlier. He's sort of been the Trojan horse for some of the Live Nation arguments, I would say, during this whole process.
I know we have not seen video of Michael Rapino visiting the White House. Is that by design?
I think Rapino has definitely met with Trump. I don't remember if it was Mar-a-Lago or the White House or both, but I don't think it's in anyone's interest to advertise that. Not that, look, it's not that any of the people that we cover want it advertised when they meet with Trump. For the most part, every once in a while, it's useful to their point. But
sure, yeah. I know. When are you and I going to visit with Trump? Like, I feel like we need an audience.
Well, you've just made your plea here. There's probably someone in the White House who listens to the show, and they'll follow up with you, or you'll get a call. Because
I'll probably get a call, yes, and then I'll get audited. All right, thank you, Lucas. We're going to have you stick around for the call sheet. A very important update to our box office draft. All right, we're back with the call sheet, special call sheet today. Lucas is here, but first, Craig, some accountability corner. I hit on both movies last weekend, correct?
Yes, under on The Bride easily and over on Hoppers relatively easily.
Yeah, both kind of came in as I expected. I had over on 38, I believe, on Hoppers, and it came in at 46. And The Bride came in under 14, way under, about 7 million.
You took the under on 16. But The Bride gets us into the real topic of this call sheet.
The real topic. I am arguing we need to redraft from our box office draft because
it's not an argument. It's the rule. The rule
is. Okay, well, state your case, Lucas, because the rule was each movie that we give each other, if you remember the box office rules, we pick 6 movies and then each of us gives the other a movie that we believe is going to bomb. The rule is it has to have a production budget of $100 million. Mm-hmm. There was a question about The Bride. Warner Brothers is absolutely lowballing with its $80 million number. My reporting suggests that the actual cost of that movie is $92 million, which is under $100 million. So we got to redraft.
My argument was pretty simple, which is that I did not think it was more than $100 million. I was encouraged by you to take it because you believed that Warner Brothers was lying, and thus,
well, they are lying,
and thus,
I took
the movie that you said I was allowed to take as the host of the show.
But if you go back and listen, we said go ahead, pick it now, and if it comes in under $100 million, you'll have to redraft.
Okay, so Craig, you get the official judge on this one. You tell us what the rule is.
It's coming in under $100 million. We discussed this, so Lucas will have to give Matt a new bomb, unfortunately, because it looks like The Bride is going to absolutely.
So sorry. That would have been a big loser.
I know.
For
it would have been the easy one.
You have to redraft me a bomb. Craig, you want to say the teams?
Sure. So Lucas's team. Lucas had the first pick in the draft. Spider-Man, Super Mario Brothers Galaxy, The Odyssey, Mandalorian, and Grogu. Dune 3, Jumanji 3, Devil Wears Prada 2, and his bomb that Matt gave him is Masters of the Universe, which is a real gem.
Oh, I love that. I'm feeling pretty good about that, especially now that Paramount saw the weakness and they put the Scary Movie reboot on top of that movie.
Matt's team is Toy Story 5, Avengers Doomsday, Minions 3, Moana, Michael, Disclosure Day, and Hunger Games. And now, Lucas, what will his new bomb movie be?
I think I'm going to take a risk, which is going to bite me in the ass here, probably, which is I'm going to give you Digger.
That's the right call.
Yeah.
Oh, the Tom Cruise, Alejandro Iñárritu movie, Digger.
That's the right call.
That's the right call?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a comedy, which automatically limits its global appeal. Iñárritu has really only ever made one movie that was a big hit, which was The Revenant with Leo, which is the risk case here, right? It's him again being paired with a major star in Tom Cruise. The fact is, I want to be wrong on this because I like Iñárritu. I like Tom Cruise doing something other than action. I just think the odds of this movie being like a massive hit are really low. And
it's expensive.
And it
Cruise is in prosthetics, I am told, for most of the movie. So it's not like you get to see Tom Cruise as, the Tom Cruise we know.
So I think the other options were Supergirl, which I don't think is going to be a big hit. It doesn't look great, but the floor on that is still probably like $300 million. And then this the J.J. Abrams movie, which it's sort of like the Spielberg movie. Obviously, Spielberg way bigger filmmaker than J.J., but like I don't really want to touch it because it could be commercial and work.
Yeah, we don't know what it is. Yeah. The Great Beyond is what it's called. But it was recently dated for this year.
And I will say that the October and November, like the fall window, September up through about Thanksgiving, is looking pretty fallow. And so one of these movies, whether it's the JJ movie, Digger, some other stuff in there, is like one of those movies is going to hit. And I just don't know which one it's going to be.
Unfortunately, when in doubt, you should probably bet against an original comedy.
Correct.
Although I don't know. I mean, it's Cruise and Iñárritu.
Yeah,
it
could totally work.
I mean,
you could pick movies other than Warner Brothers movies.
Find me a $100 million non-Warner Brothers movie that we haven't taken.
Yeah, we don't know the budget of Social Network 2.
No way it's more than $100 million. It's a bunch of people
I doubt it's more than 100.
But I don't think, not that anyone asked, I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest in that movie. I feel like people are over Facebook. I could be wrong, but
yeah, we'll see. If it's what Sorkin originally said it was going to be, which was a January 6th movie.
No, it's a Francis Haugen movie, right?
Yeah, but I think he intercuts it and connects it to January 6th and the whole, lead up to what radicalized so many people in this country. So we'll see. All right, Craig, are you, if we started a Cal sheet today on who's going to win, who would you put money on?
I think Toy Story 5 is going to be massive. And I've been convinced that Avengers Doomsday will do well as well.
So
but no, I mean, Lucas has Spider-Man and Super Mario. Mandalorian's tough. Odyssey's a risk. I'd probably go with Team Matt now.
Oh, Craig is Team Matt officially.
I think I would switch.
Why don't we have a Cal sheet for this?
Maybe because it's a derivative of box office, it doesn't matter. But my understanding was that they can't do box office. It's illegal.
Because people know about it?
No, I had a conversation with someone at Kalshi about it, and I don't remember the explanation.
It's not illegal because people know about it. That seems to be totally fine.
I know, that seems to be totally fine.
No, it's something there's some specific...
You can bet on which world leaders are going to be murdered, so I think that's totally fine.
There's some specific law about box office, and I don't remember what it is.
We'll see. All right, that's the show for today. I want to thank my guest, Lucas Shaw, producer Craig Horlbeck, our editor, John Jones, and I want to thank you. We'll see you a couple more times this week. It's Oscar week. We got some Oscar shows coming up.